Hey guys, welcome to my channel. So I'm so excited for today's video. So if you have been subscribed to my channel from the very beginning, and I mean like the very beginning, from like 2018, you know that I used to do a series called Girl Boss Guide series, and I decided that I'm going to be bringing that back to my channel. I kind of just stopped doing those videos because I decided to focus more on doing business and fashion videos, which I'm still going to be doing business and fashion videos, but I kind of want to implement this series on my channel again because of where I am in my life. So I'm really on this self-love journey where I am learning to fully love myself, fully accept myself just as I am. And I remember I used to think that, I used to think that I truly did love myself, but like throughout learning more about myself, I realized that I have so much issues that I need to work on and heal from. And I think that these videos can be really helpful to young women, especially because a lot of the things that I do want to talk about on in this series are things that are like, they're kind of like really serious things. And I'm hoping that doing this series can also help me to open myself up to you guys a lot more on my channel, because something that you guys probably do notice is that I'm not really an open person. I'm naturally a really private person, but I really want to open up to you guys, my audience, a lot more, so that you can get an understanding of who I am and also just feel more connected to me when you're watching my videos, because I know that when I'm watching my favorite YouTubers, I don't just like to watch them doing things. I like when they're being raw and real about their life and things going on. And I'm hoping that I could share more about myself in those ways. A lot of the things that I'm gonna be trying to talk about, like I'm like, a lot of the things may be like really heavy, but when you are healing, you really have to dig deep within yourself and allow yourself to be vulnerable with yourself so that you could grow past things. So today's video, I'm gonna be sharing basically my journal entries with you guys, because something that I've been doing recently I'm still doing it every single night. I give myself like a question of the night, or I basically just write down my thoughts, how I felt for the day and things like that. And I think that these things could be so helpful to a lot of young women. So this is my journal right here. So today's topic is gonna be, what are some red flags to look out for in people/friends? So I came up with this question because I realized that all of my life I've been attracting really negative people, really obsessed people, really people that just weren't good for me, and I had to really dig deep into myself and figure out why. And I learned that a lot of it was because of trauma response to how my parents parented me. So that's why I was attracting those kind of people into my life. So now that I know that, it's my job to really work on changing those things and just knowing what to look out for in people, because most of the time we tend to look at other people and blame other people for things happening and like why they're treating us a certain way and like how they're acting. But most of the time, the way people act or treat us, it's mostly a reflection of us and who we are, and it usually teaches us what we need to change within ourselves. One of the first things that I wrote was bringing up things in my past that are negative. So I noticed that usually the people who bring up negative things in your past that you have moved on from, or that they know hurt you, if they like bring those things up, it's because they're kind of like trying to use it against you in a certain way. Because if you like, especially like if you used to do something that you no longer do and they keep bringing it up, it kind of is like them trying to remind you of how bad you are, or they want you to feel shameful or guilty. But that's where the self-work comes in, where you have to realize that we are the ones in control of ourselves, and if we allowed ourselves to heal from those negative things that they keep bringing up, even if it's a joke, then that means that they're lacking some kind of respect for us, and we need to watch out for that and also put up some boundaries. And boundaries is like such a huge thing. The next one is showing no interest in me, but they're judging everything that I do. So basically, usually these kind of people, I notice that they only want you to be around them for their convenience. So whenever they're making plans with you or whenever they're talking about you, it's more about what they could get out of you than actually building a friendship or relationship with you. And I noticed that throughout my life, I feel like I have just allowed people to use me and treat me so badly because I didn't have boundaries. I think having boundaries is a huge part about loving yourself and knowing when to say no, because when we don't allow ourselves to have boundaries, we allow people to treat us however they want. And we should never do that, because we need to listen to our true selves, and we need to allow ourselves to truly manifest the life that we want for ourselves. So if we constantly allow people to cross boundaries, then we will only attract and manifest more things in our lives that are unfitting to us. So the next one is a huge one, and I'm pretty sure a lot of girls have gone through this. They copy what I wrote copying what I do but making it seem like they didn't. So like little subtle things that they do, like maybe you'll notice that they're changing their style, they're doing their hair exactly like how you do your hair, they're doing their makeup exactly how you do your makeup, or they want to copy you but then act like you were never the one that put them onto that. But the next one that I wrote was jokes that are disrespectful. So I feel like usually when people make jokes that are disrespectful to you in any kind of way, that's usually them showing their true self and how they really feel about you. Because I don't think that, like, I have never had a friendship where friends would be disrespecting me in a joking way and our friendship would last. Like, it never did. So the next one is always making everything about them. And I realized that I have allowed myself to be in friendships with people like that because I always had a hard time with myself and who I was, and I didn't even realize that fully. But I grew up in a narcissistic household, so I kind of adapted to a lot of those kind of behaviors, like people pleasing, not having boundaries, and thinking that thinking that it's not okay for me to have feelings and I need to take care of other people before I actually take care of myself, because my emotional needs were never met. So I was never able to truly dive into my true self and who I am. So whenever I would have friendships with people, like, I would always try to figure out, like, what could I do to help them, or what could I do for them. It wasn't really about me. And I've also realized that I've allowed myself to be in many situations where I would just be so uncomfortable, but I would allow myself to be uncomfortable just so that they could be comfortable, which is never good. We will never be able to live out our true purpose in life by living that way. So that's definitely something that we should not do. We should always listen to our inner voice and allow ourselves to, act in that way. And usually when people are making everything about them, they're really dismissive. So like, let's say you attempt to tell them how you're feeling or what's going on with you, just to like vent to a friend, they may either not respond or they'll change the subject because they don't know how to actually make things about you and them in the friendship, because they're just not used to that. The next one that I wrote is making everything about themselves with no regards to me. Everything is one-sided and never compromised. So let's say you want to go somewhere and you tell your friend, oh, like, let's go here, and they're like, okay, and then they decide to change their mind and they're like, well, I don't want to go there anymore. So, and then they try to tell you like, oh, we should go here, and you're like, well, I didn't want to go there, I thought we were going here. And then it's just like, they don't really care about what you want to do. They don't care about making compromise. And I think that's really important in friendships and relationships. You should always be willing to compromise, because friendships and relationships are not just one-sided. It's not just meant to benefit one person. So the next one that I wrote is not a good listener, very dismissive to my emotions, especially if something they did bothered me. So if you feel like they were disrespectful to you in some way, or you feel like they were acting funny and you call them out on it, or you just talk to them nicely and ask them what it was about, but they act really dismissive and you could tell that there's really something else behind that, then you know that that's really a red flag that you need to look out for, because those kind of friendships, they never really end well. I think that also goes back to having boundaries and people just respecting your boundaries. I remember I had a friend who I'm no longer friends with, and we used to be so close. We used to hang out all the time. But I remember, like, in the beginning of our friendship, before things like got bad, I remember how, like, she had asked me to go somewhere with her and her friends, and I had said that I didn't want to. I said no, and then she just started basically begging me and kept asking me, and then after that she was like, you just like when people beg you. And then that really hit me, because I was like, why would I want someone to beg me to hang out with them, you know? It's just about being able to respect my boundary. If I say no, that means no. Maybe if I say I don't know, then you could convince me, but who would really want to be begged to hang out somewhere unless you have an issue mentally? Another red flag to me is somebody who is very attached to me and has no independence. I used to be really close to somebody who was like this, and I feel like it really affected me mentally and emotionally, because I had this people-pleasing nature, but I also knew that I had to take care of myself. It was like a constant fight, but then I was like, we had a friendship for so long and I didn't want to let that go. But I also knew that I needed to set those boundaries in order for me to be happy. I think it's important for my friends to be independent, because that's the kind of person that I am. I'm not the kind of person that is very needy in my friendships. So I know that's something that I need to look for in people. I don't need people who want to constantly call and text me every single day, multiple times a day. And I've actually had a friendship end because of that. My friend didn't understand that I did not want to hang out and talk every single day, because I felt like it was just draining. I feel like when it comes to me, being around people all the time 24/7 and absorbing their energy is really, really draining, especially because during that time I wasn't really loving myself the way I should have, and I wasn't listening to my inner voice the way I should have, so that's why it was also affecting me. I didn't know how to listen to my inner voice and really trust myself and my intuition and my instincts the way I thought I did. So another thing that I wrote was, they're constantly negative, putting themselves down and everyone else around them. So I realized that by having friends that are like this, you will allow yourself to be brought down with them, because you are a reflection of who your friends are. And I had to learn this the hard way. I remember the beginning of one of my friendships, it was like that. Like, they were really, really negative. They were really hard on themselves. And I felt so bad for them. And I was like, you know what? Like, I can be positive and I can help them through this. And I was positive and I was helping them through it. And it only ended up working out in their benefit and not mine, because after a while I started to adapt some of their traits of being negative, and then once I was starting to become negative like they started treating me bad, but I allowed them to. I didn't set boundaries. I didn't set boundaries because I didn't know my self-worth. So now I know, like, if someone doesn't love themselves and they're really negative, like, it is not my job to save you. Even as a friend, I get if you're having hard times and you want to vent, but I can't constantly be there holding you and making sure that everything is fine, because it never works out. So the next one is that they are very rude to other people for no reason, and they're always in conflict. I feel like that always says something about a person. The next one is they talk about other people a lot. So I understand, like, you want to vent about a situation with somebody, but if you're always constantly talking about other people, to me that kind of shows me that if something was to ever happen between us, you would be quick to run to somebody else and tell them how much of a bad person that I am, just so that they could feel bad for you, or wanna, you know, talk bad about me too, so that you could feel good about it. So they show signs of jealousy towards me or other people. I just feel like jealousy is like such a huge thing. Like, if I notice that someone is showing jealousy, even like, it's almost something that you could just feel when you're next to somebody. You could tell that they're just hating on you, and you should never allow someone like that to be around you, because they're also going to be the same people watching your every move, so that when you make a mistake, they're able to call it out. Or they would always try to look for a flaw in you to call it out. So the next one is they lack accountability and they don't like to admit when they are wrong. In my life, with anybody that I've ever had in my life who just doesn't like to take accountability or ever admit that they're wrong in something, they have never been truly good people, and I have always had to just have them exit my life. So the next one I think is super important, which is they don't love themselves and they allow themselves in dangerous situations that mean they most likely don't care for my well-being either. So let's say something crazy is happening. If they don't care about themselves or love themselves enough to try to escape a situation, they're just gonna, you know, be okay with it. So if they're not even willing to help themselves, why would they care enough to, you know, not put me in a bad situation? I have to admit, I've allowed myself to be in some crazy situations because I just didn't love myself enough. And when I think back to it, I'm just like, I'm so grateful that I've always had God's protection over me, because I really could have died so many times. So the next one is belittling my success. So I think this one is also self-explanatory, and I think this is also something that a lot of young women go through. So I used to have a friend that I considered my best friend, and I remember when I had launched my online store, she didn't follow the page. She didn't really acknowledge it like that at all. And whenever I would try to talk about it, like, she would, you know, have this fake face on. Like, I could tell that she was just trying to suck up all the negative emotions she was feeling just so that she didn't explode in front of me. So the last one is always criticizing me. They are hyper focused on me, waiting for me to mess up and look bad so that they can blast it. So there are really people who are just around in your life for their own convenience, because you benefit them in so many ways and they don't want you to exit their life. But they're also those kind of people that will make sure that you know that you're not that good of a person and you have so many flaws. And we are definitely all flawed human beings, but if you are around someone who's constantly trying to call out your flaws, then that's definitely a sign that they are most likely jealous of you, and they're also really insecure themselves, and they just don't want you to level up. Especially if they see you doing good, they're definitely gonna hyper focus on you and try to criticize a lot of the things that you do so that you're not able to uplift yourself. And they'll try to do it in a subtle way so that it's not so noticeable, but I feel like it's happened to me so many times that I'm just able to always catch on to it, and I just know. So that's basically going to be it for today's video. I hope that you guys have learned something, and if you also had any of these situations happen to you, leave your stories down below if you want to share anything, because I know that it could help so many other people. And we just need to start taking care of ourselves, loving ourselves, setting boundaries, so that we could truly become who we are meant to be on this earth and walk in our truest purpose and do what we are truly meant to do. Because when we keep ourselves around negative people, people who don't really care about us, or maybe we're lonely and we're like, you know what, I'm just gonna allow this person in my life because I don't really feel like being alone, then we kind of just allow ourselves to be set up for disappointment, because we never really get anything good out of that. So this is the end of the Girl Boss Guide series video. I think this is number 6. I'm just gonna keep adding on from the videos that I had before, and I definitely am not gonna look back at the old ones that I posted because I definitely will cringe watching those, but I'm going to leave this series playlist in the description below if you guys want to catch up on those videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.